What's up, Coding 2? In this video, we are going to review some of the basic color commands so that we can bring our drawings and animations to life, make them look beautiful and colorful. Okay, here's the project that I was working on in the last video, basic shapes, and now we're going to mess with the color. All right, background. Background, what it basically does is it draws a rectangle behind the screen. And makes your background. So pretty straightforward. Generally, you want your background, in fact, I'm going to say all the time, you're going to want your background at the very beginning of your program. That may change if you want to change backgrounds at some point during your program. But if we're making a static picture, that's a picture that's not moving, or just a basic animation, you're going to want to make sure that your background is the first thing written down generally. Now, remember when you go and type a background command in, it autofills to red, and then from there you can go ahead and make it whatever color you like. I'll go with a nice purple, because I like purple. Okay. The next command we have for shapes is the fill command, and the fill adds color to our shapes. It also autofills to red, and it will fill every single shape that comes after it. So maybe I want my ellipse to be red, which is perfect, but I want my rectangle to be blue. So we have to add another fill command and make the rectangle blue. Notice that everything that comes after this fill command is now blue. So again, fill commands, this will be, and when you use a draw function or loops, this can be an issue, right? A lot of times your shapes won't be the color you want, and it's because there's a fill command somewhere in your program that is affecting everything that comes after it. So I'm going to go ahead and give each of these shapes a different fill. Oh, I don't like that green. I don't like that green. I want like a nice bright green. That's not bad. And I don't know. I'm running out of color. Oh, orange. We'll do an orange. Okay, so fill commands fill up your shapes. Notice the arc, the last one I did. I'm gonna move the stop position of my arc, so you can kind of see how arcs fill in. It's kind of weird. Again, it kind of creates this Pac-Man shape. You may not want that, so we'll talk more about how to work with the arc. I may do a separate video on arcs because they're a little trickier. All right, the next command we have is the stroke command. You can see that right now all the shapes are outlined with a black outline, and the stroke command will give them a new outline. So I'm going to go back up to the top here. I'm going to type in stroke. Again, it autofills to red, and notice that all my shapes now have a red outline. So for each shape, I can add a different stroke and make it a different color. Now sometimes, which one am I doing right now? I'm doing the quad and the arc. Sometimes you may not want a stroke command. So let's go back up to the rectangle here. And it's pretty easy to see. Maybe I don't want any outline at all. So here's my code for the rectangle. If I want to get rid of the stroke, I type in no stroke. And that gets rid of the outline. Okay, why would I want to get rid of the outline? Well, maybe you just don't want it outlined. But another really good reason is when you want to overlap two shapes to create a more complicated shape, it often really helps to have no stroke. So I'm going to take this rectangle and this ellipse right here. I'm going to make them into one shape. So I'm going to make them both the same color. I'm going to get rid of this stroke. Okay. So now I have these two shapes here, and if I move the rectangle over, that's because it has a red stroke. I'm going to give it a white stroke. All right. I'm going to move the rectangle over, and you see that, hey, I'm trying to make this more complicated shape, but we can still see the outline. And I definitely don't want the outline to show. So in this situation, you might want to use a no stroke. So I'll get rid of the stroke here. I'll type in no stroke. And now they blend together and they form one complex shape. Now you can get dozens of shapes and combine them together. Make sure you're using the no stroke command and make a more sophisticated looking shape. This kind of looks like maybe it's a whistle or something. All right, let's talk about some other options here. We have what's called stroke weight. Stroke weight makes the outline thicker or thinner. So let's look at the triangle down here, the yellow triangle. I'm going to go ahead and increase the stroke weight. The stroke default weight is 1. Boy, my typing is sloppy. I apologize. So if I put a 1 in here, we're really not going to see a difference. But when I start number scrubbing this, and again, this is actually going to affect the stroke weight of everything that comes after it. So watch what happens. My stroke weight gets big, and then it gets small. And if you go negative, nothing happens. I think the minimum is 1, and then if you want none, you type in no stroke. So a lot of times, maybe you'll want it a little thicker for whatever reason. Notice that on some of these shapes, you get like this little rounded corner here and a little rounded corner here on the triangle. I don't know why. Here on the arc, you get little rounded areas. So I'm not sure why exactly that happens. There are ways to work around that, but it is kind of what it is. All right, so that's how we adjust the thickness of our outline. Well, what if I want just the outline? And this, I'm thinking specifically of arcs here. Well, this is where you can use a no fill. So let's look down at our arc here. And a lot of times we want to make like a smiley face or some sort of eyelid or something like that. We don't want that fill, especially with arcs, because arcs have this weird Pac-Man sort of fill. So I'm going to go into my arc here, and I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to type in no fill instead. And now I'm going to only see the outline. So now I can mess with the stop position and make a smiley face. I can move the start position, right? And you can see how I can complete the arc like that. So the no fill command makes it so we only see the outline of a shape. Okay, the last thing I think I'm going to show you in this video is how to make things sort of transparent or translucent, we might say. So I'm going to change the background to black because I think it looks cool for this. And which shape here is easy to move? I'm going to move the rectangle back over here, and I'm going to change its color to blue. All right, so now I have my ellipse and my rectangle, and they're overlapping, right? Well, maybe for some reason why I want this rectangle to be transparent. Maybe you're making like a window or glass or something like that. So if I go to the fill command for the rectangle, there's actually an optional fourth parameter. So you can put a question mark there. And I think this number goes from 0 to 255 as well. 255 means completely opaque. You cannot see through it. 0 means completely transparent, which essentially means invisible. So I'm going to plug in 0. Yep. I'm going to type in 255. Yep, it's totally solid. So now I'm going to pick something in the middle. I'm going to pick 100. And you can see that it is transparent. I still get that nice blue color, but I can see the rectangle, the ellipse behind it. And now if I move this down, I'm actually going to cut and paste this code to the very bottom of my program. And I want no stroke. All right, and now when I move this rectangle around, we can see everything behind it. So that's kind of cool, and you may want to use that at some point. Okay, so in this video, I talked about background, which changes your background color. I talked about stroke, which is the outline, right? So here we have a blue outline. Here I talked about no stroke, which means we have no outline. I talked about fill, which fills in shapes. I talked about no fill, which means the shapes have no fill and you'll see only the outline. And we talked about making a shape transparent, and the way we do that is by, if you look at this fill command right here, is by adding this optional fourth parameter from 0 to 255. You can't, for some reason with these optional parameters, you can't always number scrub them. So I'll just go ahead and make it like 200, and you can see how it becomes more opaque. I'll make it 220. It's getting really opaque, and then by the time I get up to 250, it's basically well, that's 2,500. By the time I get up to 250, I don't know if in the video, but I can actually still see through it a teeny bit. But I found usually somewhere like around 100 is a good number. But you can of course play with that. Okay, I'm gonna try doing this one more time and this one more time. All right, I recognize I'm a little fuzzy. I believe that's because when someone else walks by in the background, it messes with the focus. So this is a review of colors. So now you have a basic review of your shapes, a basic review of your colors. And these are going to be the building blocks, the Lego bricks of all the programs that we're going to make. All right, thanks for watching, guys.